Hello and welcome to the tips and tricks for improving your speaking test score. In order to improve your production score in the Duolingo English test, you need to make sure that you follow those tips that we're going to actually discuss in detail. The first tip is that you shouldn't be giving short answers. You need to elaborate, give examples, and further explanation. Even if the question asks you to speak at least for 30 seconds about a certain topic, you still need to try to fill the 90 seconds that you're given, or the 3 minutes in the extended interview questions at the end of the test. Because the more you speak, of course, if if you speak efficiently, it's of course much better. But the more you speak, the better your grade is going to be, especially if the turn you're giving is actually relevant to the topic and it's grammatically and correct and has uncommon lexical items. You need to prepare for the test, you need to practice introducing yourself. You need to practice talking about the most popular topics in any proficiency test, including Duolingo, such as hobbies, tourism, transportation, shopping, technology, education, reading, friends, weather, etc. You need also to practice giving opinions and how to support your opinions and explain them with examples and details. For instance, think using phrases like, I strongly believe in my own perspective, in my viewpoint. This is very important because in any proficiency test, whether Duolingo, IELTS, or any other proficiency test, one of the main criteria for assessing your speaking is your ability to express your viewpoint or your opinion. Another tip that you have to keep in mind is focusing only on the task and responding precisely to the question or the topic, because as we've seen, many people actually couldn't have certified results, and the reason was that the speech that they gave was not relevant to the task or the questions that they have been given. So it's very important to use relevant relevant words that will show the computer that is assessing you that you're actually addressing that topic. Don't waste time at the very beginning using cliches such as this is a very interesting question, or I'm going to talk about a personal topic, or well, this question is very good and it shows a part of my life. These are all cliches that are not counted in your assessment. So go directly into the topic, start responding and addressing the questions that you have one by one. Make sure that you're heard, but do not yell. And this is very important. Your voice needs to be very clear so that the computer is going to be able to convert your speech into text and then assess it correctly. I've seen candidates who actually get lower grades in production just because they do not articulate the words, they do not give themselves enough time to pronounce the words, which means that the computer is not going to decipher, is not going to get what they are saying, and this is going to decrease their grades dramatically. Though their speaking itself is excellent, but the way they deliver, the way they articulate is not correct, and that is a huge problem. So you need to slow your pace so that you will be able to articulate well. Pay attention to the verb tenses. So, if the question is asking about a teacher that you had when you were a child, you cannot be using the present tense. It should all be in the past tense. I met, he taught me, I was in his class, I enjoyed his lessons, he was very collaborative and very helpful. This is how you should build your sentences. Structure your answer to include an introduction, body, and conclusion. Again, another criterion in the assessment of your speaking is coherence, how relevant your ideas are and how well structured your answer is. So you need to make sure that your response is you introduce the topic and then you give details and finally end with a conclusion, like a summing up or recommending something or predicting that something is going to happen in the future. This is how you should include the answers. Support your answer with details and examples. So, for instance, if you're talking about a famous historical figure or a certain cultural aspect that is unique in your own country, you need to try to give examples and details. You do not only put forward certain ideas without supporting the details. One of the major problems that many test takers have is generating ideas, especially with Duolingo, because you are unable to write your own ideas and you're only given 30 seconds to brainstorm. So sometimes it's quite hard to find ideas pertaining to the topic. In order to solve that problem, firstly try to read about the popular topics in speaking tests so that you will have ideas for each task. So practicing is very, very important, and trying to read about different topics. Secondly, practice brainstorming ideas in 30 seconds. So in the question banks that we have in our course, or if you see any questions elsewhere, try to set a stopwatch on your cell phone or your laptop and brainstorm only for 30 seconds, and make sure that you cover all the requirements of the task in the brainstorming part. The third tip is to prepare yourself before the test. After you brainstorm the ideas in 30 seconds, try to record yourself while speaking for 90 minutes if it is in the extended speaking questions, or for 3 minutes in the interview questions at the end. So you need to record yourself and listen again to what you've said, because when you listen again, you will identify that you hesitated in that part, or you didn't cover that part in the question. So this is a very important way to practice for the speaking questions. You need also to get feedback, because sometimes we are very accustomed to the way we talk and we don't know exactly what are the mistakes that we made. And it's very important to have the feedback, and it shouldn't be the feedback of someone who's at the same level or who is not well qualified to give you feedback, because this is not going to be beneficial. You need to get the feedback of someone who is professional and who's trained to assess the speaking skills and focus on the criteria that the question itself is addressing, or the test itself is addressing, in order to assess your speaking. This is an example. In 30 seconds, starting from now, you can pause the video and brainstorm ideas for this topic. Describe how people used to communicate 50 years ago. How do you think methods of communication will change in the future? So when you pause, you need to think about two things here. The question is divided into two questions, and you need to address both of them. So don't waste the 30 seconds just describing how people used to communicate in the past, using letters, using telex or fax, and you need also to brainstorm ideas for how the communication methods are going to change in the future. This is another topic. Again, pause the video and brainstorm ideas in 30 seconds. Describe a city that you would like to live in. What is this city famous for? What part of the city would you like to live in? And why would you like to live there? While brainstorming, don't waste time talking about the city where you live in now, and choose a city that you are very familiar with. So even if you're going to describe the city where you live now and say that I would like to live there, but don't choose a city, for instance, Paris or Italy or or Rome, and after choosing the city, you will not be able to say why I would like to live there. Unless you know quite well about the city, don't choose it to be the focus of your answer. As we've said, there are certain common speaking topics that you need to be aware of and you need to prepare before the test. So, for instance, entertainment. In the test, it's a very popular type of question to ask you about a book that you read or a book that would you like to read, a certain movie, about a play, a song. It can also The question can also focus on sports, like what is your favorite sport, favorite team, what is the importance of sports, importance of team sports for children, for teenagers, what about the individual sports. When it comes to games, so a game that you played when you were young, your best childhood game, how to choose games for the children, advertising for games, educational apps or educational games on your on computers and environment. This is a very common topic. Causes and effects of pollution, how to protect the environment, eco-friendly products and eco-friendly cars or designs, tourism, the places that you visited or the places that you wish to visit, the dangers of tourism on faraway places or on the environment, entrance fees to touristic monuments, whether there should be fees or no, whether they should be free on certain days, how to preserve monuments, how to preserve historical buildings, whether we should demolish historical buildings or we should preserve them. Work, what is your dream job? What is the best job that you've ever had? What is the worst job? Teamwork in the workplace, managers, leaders, working for a boss versus starting your own business. These are all common, and of course, writing topics as well. Career, so setting career goals, what motivates people to work harder, career counseling, should it be teachers giving career counseling, should parents help their children choose the best career by giving them career advice, communication, like the questions that we had, communication in the past versus communication in the present, pros and cons of communication methods. Social media is connecting or isolating people. Technology advantages or disadvantages of technology in general or of a certain appliance or gadget, cell phones, computers, automation, how technology is replacing human beings, losing jobs because of technology, reducing the frequency of human errors because of technology. What are the best inventions in human history? How is technology going to advance in the Another thing that you have to focus on in your speaking and, of course, in your writing is supporting your viewpoint. It's not enough just to put forward an idea. You need to provide support, can be in the form of details, description, personal experience, facts, statistics, studies, quotations, talking about a certain topic. All those are ways to support your viewpoint. And the more support you give, the better your grade. Let's take an example. Do you think family members are more important than friends? How do friends or family members help each other? So if you're asked a question like that in the test, it's not enough to say that family members are more important because they are closer to each other, they are keen on benefiting their fellow family members. This is not enough. You can give an example of how your brother helped you succeed in a certain subject, how your father is always supportive. You need to give details and examples. You can talk about a certain study that has shown that family members are more protective than friends, things that support your viewpoint. And the computer is actually not concerned about whether the information that you are providing is accurate or not, because this is not a scientific research paper. The computer is focusing on how well you can express and support your view. Cohesion devices, we talked about coherence as one of the major criteria in assessing your speaking. Cohesion is also important, and cohesion, if coherence talks about how well organized your ideas are, cohesion talks about how well connected your sentences are to each other. Devices are very important, using words like firstly on the one hand, likewise, in addition, and try to use several of them. Do not repeat and or so or but forever in your speaking. You need actually to vary, to use different coherence markers to connect your sentence. Practice and feedback are very important. You cannot improve your speaking unless you practice. So try to get feedback and try to speak as much as you can. Listen to people speaking, but still, this is not gonna improve your speaking. Improving your speaking can happen if you start actually practicing, getting feedback, and avoiding the mistakes that you're making. Thank you very much, and I'm gonna see you again very soon in another video about how to improve your writing score in the Duolingo test. Best of luck.